Welcome GearShift TV visitors to our deep dive into the world of electric vehicle charging stations. And today we're diving deep into the world of electric vehicles, specifically tackling the big question, are there enough charging stations out there to make long-distance EV travel a reality? But that range anxiety is still a thing, right? Especially when you're thinking about hitting the open road. So in this video we're going to break down the current state of EV charging infrastructure, talk about the challenges, the wins, and what the future holds for long-distance EV travel. Let's get into it. Please subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to stay updated with our latest content. Alright, let's be real. The backbone of any good road trip is knowing you can fuel up along the way. Whether you're driving a traditional gas-powered car or an electric vehicle, the principle remains the same. For us EV folks, that means having a solid network of charging stations, especially on those long stretches of highway. It's not just about convenience, it's about ensuring that your journey is smooth and uninterrupted. It's like, imagine hitting the road knowing there's only one gas station for hundreds of miles. The anxiety would be real, right? Now, think about that in the context of electric vehicles. Not ideal, right? That's why having a robust charging infrastructure is key to making long-distance EV travel smooth and stress-free. It's about having the confidence to explore new places without the constant worry of running out of juice. You're cruising down the highway, enjoying the silent power of your EV, and when that battery gets low, bam! You pull up to a charging station, grab a coffee, maybe catch up on some emails, and boom, you're back on the road. It's a seamless experience that makes long drives enjoyable. EVs are getting serious range these days, some pushing 300 even 400 miles on a single charge. This extended range is a game changer, but it doesn't eliminate the need for a reliable charging network. But even with that kind of range, having a reliable network of fast chargers along your route is essential for peace of mind. Knowing that you can quickly recharge and get back on the road is crucial. And the good news is, the charging infrastructure is catching up to the capabilities of these EVs. We're seeing significant investments and developments in this area. We're seeing more and more fast charging stations popping up along major highways, making those long journeys totally doable. This expansion is making it easier for EV drivers to plan their trips without any hiccups. But it's not just about having enough stations, it's also about having the right types of stations. Different EVs have different charging needs, and the infrastructure needs to cater to all of them. We're talking about those DC fast chargers. The ones that can juice up your battery in the time it takes to grab a quick bite. These chargers are essential for reducing downtime and keeping your journey on track. So, yeah, charging stations are pretty much the make or break factor when it comes to long-distance EV travel. Without them, the freedom to explore and travel far distances in an EV would be severely limited. Now, one of the most exciting things happening in the EV world right now is the massive expansion of the charging network we're seeing globally. This isn't just a small step, it's a giant leap towards a more sustainable future. Seriously, countries all over the map are stepping up their game. From the Americas to Asia, and everywhere in between, the push for EV infrastructure is undeniable. We're talking about the US, China, Europe, you name it. Each region is making significant strides to ensure that electric vehicle owners have the support they need. Governments are pushing for more sustainable solutions, and part of that is investing heavily in EV charging infrastructure. This includes not just urban areas but also suburban and rural regions. A few years ago, finding a charging station outside of major cities was like trying to find a decent signal in the middle of nowhere. It was a real challenge for early adopters of electric vehicles. But now we're seeing a serious shift. The landscape is changing rapidly, and it's becoming easier and more convenient to charge your EV no matter where you are. Major highways are getting outfitted with fast charging stations, and even more rural areas are starting to get in on the action. This is crucial for long-distance travel and for those living outside urban centers. China, for example, is going all in on EVs, and their charging network is absolutely exploding. The scale of their investment is truly impressive. They're on track to have millions of chargers installed in the next few years, which is just mind-blowing. This kind of growth is setting a benchmark for the rest of the world. And it's not just about quantity, it's about quality, too. The technology behind these chargers is advancing, making them faster and more efficient. We're seeing a lot more of those super-fast DC fast chargers being installed, which is key for making long-distance travel practical. These chargers can significantly reduce the time it takes to get back on the road. Imagine being able to charge your car in the time it takes to have lunch. This convenience is a game changer for EV owners. Of course, the pace of expansion varies from country to country. Some nations are racing ahead, while others are gradually catching up. Some places are way ahead of the curve, while others are still playing catch-up. But the important thing is that progress is being made everywhere. But the overall trend is clear. The EV charging network is growing rapidly, and it's only a matter of time before range anxiety becomes a thing of the past. This growth is paving the way for a more sustainable and convenient future. This global push for EV adoption is creating some exciting opportunities, not just for drivers, but for businesses too. Entrepreneurs are finding new ways to capitalize on this growing market, from charging station installations to related services. Okay, so we've talked about the importance of charging stations and the global expansion of the network, but what does that mean for you, the EV driver, especially on those long hauls? Let's get a little more technical for a second and break down the different types of charging stations you might encounter on your EV adventures. Understanding these can make a big difference in your travel plans. At the most basic level, you've got your level 1 charging, which is like plugging your phone into a standard wall outlet. It's the slowest option but can be useful for overnight charging at home. It's fine for overnight charging at home, but let's be real, it's not gonna cut it for a road trip. You'd be waiting forever to get a full charge. Then you've got level 2 charging, which is faster and uses a higher voltage. This is a step up from level 1 and is much more practical for daily use. You'll typically find these at public charging stations, shopping malls, that kind of thing. They're more common and can charge your EV in a few hours. They're great for topping up your battery while you're running errands, but for long-distance travel, you're still going to want something quicker. You don't want to spend your whole day waiting for a charge. And that's where DC fast charging comes in. This is the real deal, the game changer for EV road trips. This is the real deal, the game changer for EV road trips. DC fast chargers use a much higher voltage than level 1 or 2, which means they can charge your battery significantly faster. DC fast chargers use a much higher voltage than level 1 or 2, which means they can charge your battery significantly faster. We're talking about adding hundreds of miles of range in the time it takes to grab a coffee and stretch your legs. We're talking about adding hundreds of miles of range in the time it takes to grab a coffee and stretch your legs. This makes long-distance EV travel a whole lot more practical and convenient. DC fast charging makes long-distance EV travel a whole lot more practical and convenient. You can plan your stops around these stations and keep your journey smooth and efficient. Now, within the world of DC fast charging, there are different connector types depending on your EV. It's important to know which one your vehicle uses. But the good news is, most modern EVs are compatible with the most common fast charging standards. This means you have a lot of flexibility when planning your trips. Chapter 4: The roadblocks on the EV highway. Challenges for electric vehicle users. Alright, so we've covered a lot of ground about the positive aspects of EV charging infrastructure, but let's be real, there are still some bumps in the road. One of the biggest challenges right now is the lack of charging stations in remote areas. If you're sticking to major highways, you're probably good to go. But if you're venturing off the beaten path, you might find yourself in a bit of a pickle. And if you're planning a cross-country road trip that involves some scenic detours, you'll definitely want to do your research and make sure you have a charging plan in place. Another challenge is the inconsistency in charging station density between countries. Some countries are way ahead of the game, with charging stations as common as coffee shops. But in other parts of the world, finding a place to charge your EV can feel like searching for a needle in a haystack. It's all about planning, people. Before you hit the road, make sure you download a reliable EV charging app. These apps are lifesavers, showing you all the nearby charging stations, what type they are, and even if they're currently available. So, while the future of EV charging is looking bright, there are still some challenges that need to be addressed. Chapter 5: EV Road Trip. Ready planning your electric adventures. Okay, so you're ready to embrace the electric revolution and embark on your first EV road trip. Awesome. But before you hit the open road, let's talk strategy. Planning is key, people, especially when it comes to EV travel. First things first, treat your EV charging app like your co-pilot. Seriously, this is your new best friend. Download a few different ones, explore the interfaces, and see which one you vibe with best. These apps will show you all the charging stations along your route, what types of chargers they have, and even if they're currently available. Some apps even let you pay for charging directly through the app, which is super convenient. Next up, embrace the pre-trip charge ritual. Before you head out on any long journey, make sure your EV's battery is topped off to 100%. It's like starting a marathon with a full tank of energy. Now let's talk route optimization. When you're planning your route, take the time to map out where you'll be able to charge along the way. Look for routes with a good concentration of fast charging stations, especially if you're covering a lot of ground. And here's a pro tip: factor in some buffer time for charging stops. Chapter 6. The Future of EV Charging, a glimpse into tomorrow's tech. Alright, we've talked about the present state of EV charging, but what about the future? What kind of mind-blowing innovations are on the horizon? Buckle up, because the future of EV charging is looking pretty electrifying. First up, get ready for even faster charging speeds. We're already seeing some seriously impressive charging times with DC fast chargers, but researchers and companies are constantly pushing the boundaries. Imagine being able to fully charge your EV in the time it takes to grab a cup of coffee. And it's not just about speed, it's about convenience too. Imagine pulling up to a charging station and not even having to plug in your car. Wireless charging technology is already being developed and tested, and it has the potential to make EV charging even more seamless. We're also going to see a lot more integration between EVs and the power grid. This concept, known as vehicle-to-grid (V2G) technology, could revolutionize the way we think about energy storage and distribution. So, we've covered a lot of ground in this video, from the different types of charging stations to the challenges and opportunities facing EV drivers. But the big takeaway here is that the world of EV charging is constantly evolving. The future of mobility is electric, and the future of EV charging is looking bright. As battery technology continues to improve and the charging infrastructure continues to expand, range anxiety will become a thing of the past. Don't forget to subscribe and ring the bell to never miss an update from us.